now to our closing keynote panel. We'll be joined by Jeffrey Moore, Chief Product Security Officer at Draeger, and Coulombe, Head of Data Protection at MassMutual, Wanda Jones-Heath, CISO at the US Air Force, and Sujeet Bambawale, CISO at 7-Eleven, to try and answer this key question. Hello, Jeffrey, Anne, Wanda, and Sujeet. Great to see you all. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a really great session today. I'm really looking forward to it. How are you embracing this next level of employee engagement as a remote and hybrid leader? And how do you anticipate this approach will continue to evolve over the next few years?
As a senior leader within the Department of the Air Force, we have to be flexible. It demands that we take actions based on the environment that we're in. For me, I try to stay connected to my leadership as well as my team. I am very engaged on a daily basis across the Department of the Air Force to ensure that we are thinking on the priorities set aside by the Chief of Staff. The environment changes at will. Technology drives a lot of what we do. We seek to find the right people for the right jobs at the right time. And so for me, flexibility is the key to my success.
Okay, great. I love that one. So all about flexibility. Jeffrey, you were nodding there. Tell me, how have you managed to adapt and embrace this next level of employee engagement? Is it similar to what Wanda said there? Is it all about flexibility?
It's about flexibility in people. I mean, to be honest with you, right? And you've got to work with the people to ensure that they feel also comfortable working remotely, because some people aren't naturally used to it, to be honest with you, right? So it's getting that balance right for everybody. And it is the flexibility, and also the organization needs to embrace it.
Great. And Anne, what about you? Have you experienced embracing similar things? Flexibility, people, anything else?
It is. It's flexibility, it's geography, and it's also understanding the different cultures involved in the entire group that is within an organization. So even just East Coast to West Coast, there are definitely some differences, and we have groups that are offshore in several countries. So all of those play into this. It's also even having a common understanding of the security elements and what we really are targeting. So what are the threats? Are they the same? Are they not? And how do we react?
Okay, great. And I wondered, how have you actually tangibly increased engagement and empowered your employees over the last 12 months?
So there are a number of things that do come to mind. One of them is a development plan. So every single employee does have a development plan. And we also set aside approximately 10% of the week to make sure that everyone does have the opportunity to work on their skills. And we know in cybersecurity, this is a continuous learning environment. So we already have that mindset, but we still have to give ourselves a little bit of space. We've also created something called an ECS EDU. So that's our cybersecurity version of our own internal sessions. So we teach each other, and we also invite the larger audience throughout the company to come and participate with us to understand what's happening. And they come up with some really great questions because it's a different point of view. So those are a few things. There's obviously a little bit more, but I'll let others add in.
Great, thank you so much, Anne. Not a problem whatsoever. And so I'd like to ask a little bit more about this idea of skills shortages, because of course we talk about this every year. It's not new, right, to cybersecurity, but the last 12 months in particular have really shone a spotlight on actually, do we need to upskill our current staff, or is it about bringing in this new talent? Jeffrey, what do you think is the key formula there? Or is it a combination of the two?
It's always going to be a combination of the two, right? Because, if you need a skill set you don't have right now, you're always going to go and try and get it from the outside world, right? Or somewhere else in the organization. I keep hearing about the skill shortages, but I've seen a lot of my friends in the last 12 months be laid off and still not find a job, right? So it's kind of interesting to see how we talk about something that was there before the pandemic and now seems to be not as prevalent as it was before. I'm a big believer in retaining and upskilling teams, right? And the important part is to make sure the inherent knowledge within the organization and about the organization and the people can move, right? Because if you're stagnant, there are a few people that don't like change, but a lot of people like to feel like they're moving forward, getting better knowledge. And let's be honest, and Anne brought it up earlier, security is one of those key areas that you need to continually get new knowledge and be upskilled and look at new products and new systems and new processes, and also look at yourself to see where you want to take yourself within the industry as well.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And Sujeet, so leading on from what Jeffrey said there, do you think that talent is really a key differentiator for security leaders and resiliency moving forwards? How important is it that we're attracting, retaining, upskilling?
There are two different work streams in talent development that I like to think about. One is organic talent development and one is inorganic talent development. Now, security as a discipline benefits most from diversity of thought and diversity of background. And those are very important in both of these work streams. So in organic talent development, I like to have the information security practice or the information security organization, the discipline within the company, be available for rotational development opportunities to everyone in the company. So when we identify security aptitude, when we identify security champions, they should have the opportunity to rotate into the security team, like something, don't like something, relate to something, identify with something, and then make a decision by themselves whether they want to pursue more in information security. That's internal talent development. Also, I believe that security leaders like all of us here should incentivize security training and formal development as well. Make that a part of performance plans and focal reviews and whatnot. From an inorganic talent development work stream, again, we should welcome diversity of background because information security is a discipline. And we should look outside of the typical engineering, science, math channels to get folks into information security, because there is no rule that says, one person of a certain background can write a better algo than anyone else. We all need to magnify our human talent with intelligent, scalable technology. And I think that's why both organic talent development and inorganic talent development should now benefit from remote working, hybrid working, remote co-location, and so on and so forth, and thus bring an added diversity of talent to the information security discipline in any company.
Great, thank you, Sujeet. I'd like to put a pin in something you said there. You mentioned this piece on how to recruit and how to be diverse with those diverse backgrounds that you mentioned. We will come back to that, I promise, because I think it's actually a really important conversation we could probably have all day. But I want to keep on the subject of this skills shortage for the moment. And Wanda, so we've heard from both Jeffrey and Sujeet there. What's your opinion on this argument of upskilling versus new talent, Wanda? Do you think it does need a combination of the two, or is one of them more important for you?
For the Department of Air Force, it has to be both. We have well over 11,000 what I call common information, IT, to include cybersecurity warriors. We have invested in these people for years, and we want to continue to have them to serve in that capacity. That means as we transform into a different department, we need skills to transform as well. So the upskilling, the rebluing, the retraining comes into play there. We're always looking for new talent. We want to be innovative. We want to lean forward. We want different perspectives, as Sujeet talked about. And to do that, we have to recruit. We have to have innovative incentives to compete with industry. We also have programs where we may send our folks to work in industry. to get that type of experience that you may not find within an department. And so we love partnering with industry that is in the same business and have our folks gain those skills and then come back. Also, the reverse applies, having our industry partners come and work for the department, see firsthand how we do business, where they can help us be more innovative and things like that. So, reskilling, upskilling, retaining, and retraining, all of those apply to the Department of the Air Force.
That's really interesting, actually, Wanda. I love that idea you mentioned there of having industry partners that your staff can go and do work experience with. I think that's really important and a key part about collaboration, which is something else that we've already spoken about at this summit. Wanda, I just wanted to ask quickly, do you think we can use this new remote working paradigm effectively to maybe ease this eternal shortage of security talent? Can it work in our favor?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that we have talked about as we go through this pandemic and we have more folks in the mobile space, it's working great. The next step is to now look at it from a geographical standpoint. We traditionally telework from your location that you live in, the state you live in. I mean, we have so much talent that perhaps is in a area like California, where there's a huge technical footprint that we would love to have, as part of our team within the department. To do that, you have to think differently about remote work options. And so we are exploring those. We are open to taking advantage of now this new paradigm, new normal that we are now operating in.
Thanks, Wanda. And Anne, what do you think the answer is? Again, we talk about skills shortages year after year. Why are we experiencing this in cybersecurity? And what can we really do? How can we place ourselves in this new normal to combat it as best as possible?
Well, it's a wonderful question. It is a growing and ever-changing industry, and I think that's one of the fundamental tenets of it. And the skills shortage, at least from our viewpoint, isn't so much just the individuals. It's how do you attract that skill set that may not understand that they would be fantastic in a cybersecurity role, but just didn't quite know it. And so it's broadening this. It's being able to reach out to industry. It's creating courses as part of joint ventures with universities. It's also being able to be there mentoring. There are a number of different activities. And by the way, it starts in high school. It doesn't just start when you've reached college or university level. There are some fantastic, high school graduates, even that come in as interns, that make fantastic people within the industry. And one thing I will add is that because this is a knowledge-based environment, many of the certificates that individuals can take and become, certified, your CISSPs, CISAs, CISMs, you name it, are all excellent. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you need a college degree. You really just have to have the ability to learn, understand your own skill set, and be able to grow. Oh, and clearly work with others. There's a lot of collaboration involved.
No, great, Anne. That's a really good point. And it's interesting there how you mentioned, again, just like Wanda, how collaboration and partnerships are really key. Obviously, in your examples, partnering with educational establishments to make sure that those grassroots for cybersecurity really being laid. So I think it definitely seems to be one of the key words. Now, Sujeet, obviously, you mentioned their diversity, and it is a huge subject of conversation for us in the cybersecurity industry, particularly as we are known for not being incredibly diverse. So let's attack this head on. And Anne, I'm going to come back to you first. So why, Anne, is it really important to challenge stereotypes and fight for diversity in this IT security space?
Well, I'm going to say that this panel is already a demonstration of diversity in many areas. All four of us have different backgrounds. We are in different parts of the industry, and visually, we don't look exactly the same, all four of us. And I think that is fantastic. And so diversity means many things to many individuals.
Yeah.
But at the foundation, it means that you're looking for people who don't have the exact same life experience, which means that they can think differently. And thinking differently, yes, part of it's just cultural, but part of it is also what each individual has chosen for themselves and how they are viewing the world in front of them and what it means to actually open up that world and bring more and more into it. So foundationally, I think it's finding those individuals with enough headspace, if you like, or room to grow, and that they engage more and more individuals. It's not an easy task, but one that will make every single company and every single organization that much stronger.
Great, thank you, Anne. And obviously, Sujeet, you first mentioned diversity. Tell me, why do you think it's important to challenge this stereotype? You already alluded to some reasons why we need to make sure that we retain and retrain and upskill our diverse workforce. But why do we need to continue to fight for it, particularly in IT?
Information security can only benefit from inclusivity and diversity. So many folks, and I'm curious now because they've been. It's a really great statistic in my mind, because anyone who has shown that passion, shown that energy, reached out and said, "Hey, can you help me get into cybersecurity?" Has interviewed really well, right? And my teams loved them, and they've loved their energy. And as we grow up in our careers, right, I think a lot of people tend to kind of lose some of that energy, lose some of that passion. So it's infectious when you have a person coming out of college and they want to just dissect malware and they want to look at something closely, and that's infectious. That re-energizes all of us. And I would love to offer opportunities to such folks, right? Because they're really injecting life and youth into all of us, which is great. But I think more importantly, they also bring a wider latitude of thought. They've seen more, they've studied more, their academics are, obviously they've kept up with growing technology and evolving technology. So just having that in our teams increases our capabilities to serve not just our companies, but our communities and our customers. And I think that's very important, because everyone, as Anne said, brings a different, way of growing up. They relate to different problems differently, and as they relate to them differently, they help us solve them in different ways, right? I perhaps will see security with blinders on, even though I will claim not to have blinders on. I will still have some blind spots, and it actually helps me have a smarter team that doesn't have the same blind spots.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sujeet. I wonder, Sujeet, could you tell us a little bit more, give us some examples of how you are changing the way that you recruit, develop and retain talent at 7-Eleven within your department to promote diversity?
There are several folks that work with me and my teams on a regular basis, and we notice their lean in. We notice how they engage with us. We notice that they kind of understand the problem, right? Now, security can understand a problem, but if you have a passionate, energetic developer who really understands the problem, the conversation changes. They learn from us, oh, this is what you want to secure. Let me tell you what you really need to do. And that, to me, is a very constructive outcome for the company, right? So then we partner with folks like this. We say, well, come in, join our meeting, see what we talk about, see what we are discussing. Help us make the policies better, help us make standards better, help us pick the right libraries and mandate them for internal consumption. Now, I know I'm going tactical, but I think going tactical every once in a while to give those real examples helps people say, oh, okay, someone else is also doing this, we should do them too. Mm-hmm. So, I really think that keeping our arms wide open, embracing all of the people who are interested, really helping them identify and unlock their aptitude within the company by inviting them in and seeing if it sticks, I think is the best approach.
Great, thank you. Really good example there, Sujeet. Appreciate that. Jeffrey, what about you? How do you think that diversity and inclusion, How do you think this landscape has evolved in cybersecurity over the last 5-10 years?
So it's kind of interesting because I find that when I put a job out for a position in the US or in Europe, I actually get a lot more diverse people applying for a job in Europe than I do in the States, right? And I think here's the problem is we've created this ability to make security sound scary, right? And that stops a lot of people trying to put their foot into it in some ways, right? I do agree with some of the statements here. Somebody who's looking to get in, male, female, whatever nationality, if they're asking to come in, they're normally the most interesting people to bring in because that's what they want to do. And that's a passion. What I have seen change definitely over the last year is the way critical thinking is evolving, right? A lot of people who are coming in realize they have to think out of the box for the position, right? And that helps. And you see that always because the way people go at challenges also comes from their background, right? You know, and how they've grown up and what they enjoy doing, you know, and there's a lot of people out there who enjoy doing escape rooms, maybe not so much anymore, but they're enjoying it, right? And it's the idea of thinking, trying to get something, get somewhere, and work as a team, and having these things slowly get better through the last 5 to 10 years. That people are now actually not afraid to ask to get into the job and reach out to leaders like ourselves. And if we have the positions, and I quite often will take somebody and put them through the ringer with my team, right? So that they can actually, maybe not fit within my team, but understand what people are looking for as well. And also, there's become a lot of managed security providers who are looking for entry level that people tend to not to look for and look at. And the background is always not important. It's what you bring to the table and what you can bring to the organization, right? As I always say, a good curry can have a good 8, 9, 10 spices. Individually, some of those spices taste awful, right? But when you put all those spices together, you have a wonderful dish, right? By the way, I was going to be a cook before I got into security. So for me, it's always, what do I put into this pot to actually make the team successful, the organization successful, and protect and give people chances?
Thanks, Jeffrey. Next time we have a face-to-face summit, we'll have to ask you to bring along some of your culinary delights so that we can sample them. You mentioned there, Jeffrey, and you demonstrated quite nicely about how in the last 5 to 10 years, it has changed and it is getting better. But how much further do we have to go?
Miles. We have, the problem is everybody on this panel has a subconscious bias, right? No matter what, right? And that's what we have to get over. We have to make sure that as things move forward, these biases that are behind, that aren't at the forefront, can go away. There was that great study back in the day where to get the right concert pianists, they had all the judges behind a veil. They took the shoes off so they couldn't tell if it was male or a woman, walking forward to test so they could choose the right person for the right position, right? And the right part of the orchestra. That's what we have to do. We have to not understand it, where they come from, what they do. Listen to the conversation that you have with them, right? Look what you're looking for, what they bring to the table. You know, one question I always ask, right? Because a resume or a CV always says how amazing and what they've done is what they do terribly, because that's the problem I have to fix, right? I want to know what they do badly because I want to make sure part of my team could augment it, because what they do good is wonderful and they're there because of what they can do, right? So we have to get rid of those subconscious bias and move forward.
Great, thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah. So Wanda, over to you. What are you doing at the US Air Force to really change the way that you're recruiting and developing talent, to promote this piece in diversity? And what challenges have you faced with really trying to promote and bring in talent of a diverse range of backgrounds?
Within the department, I'm in a unique position as the CISO, but I'm also the functional manager for over 11,000 civilians. And I recently held a development team meeting to get after the diversity. I wanted to know what we look like, what are some of the barriers that we face when we're looking to recruit, when we're looking for folks for new opportunities. Jeff talked about, using what we don't know about a person to be able to assess them. Analytical skills, very important. Critical thinking, as Jeff mentioned, is very important. And trying to find those gems that are kind of sitting on the sideline, wanting to get into the game, but just don't know how. When I mentor folks, I ask those type of questions because I want those folks who are not afraid to have the conversations, that are not afraid to push the status quo, that wants to, be in a particular job and give it 100%. I like finding those people who are often overlooked because of our unconscious bias. I love, going out and having conversations with our young people, as Ann mentioned, to kind of, spark their interest, especially in little girls. When they are afraid of the math and the sciences, letting them know that, if I can do it, they can do it. And having those conversations across the country to recruit folks who would never give the Department of Air Force a chance, showing them that yes, it's sexy, but in some cases it's hard work. We have a great mission that kind of draws a lot of people as well. So our recruiting, has to be innovative. We have to be thinking outside of the box. We have to go the extra mile to find those gems that are just sitting there waiting to get plucked.
Thank you, Wanda. Jeffrey, did you have something to add? I saw.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, somebody talked about certification earlier. I do believe certifications are good for people, especially people who do it. But I'm not a big believer who harp on somebody who has to have a college degree or a university degree, right? People come from all races and have all that. I am the Chief Product Security Officer for Draeger. I have no degrees in my background. I finished school at 16. I'm very lucky to be where I am, and it takes hard work, right? The important things is the right people do the right things. And I believe, listening to everybody here, we have the right people to help move forward, right? And one thing I have talking about women and some that I mentor is anytime there's a position, they tend not to want to apply for that position because they don't nail every requirement of the job. Whereas a guy will go for that with one requirement, right? And I think women need to understand that, you know what? You don't need to know everything. I don't need to know everything, right? You just need to have the core requirements and go in and convince them that you'll learn the rest, or you know at least some of it.
Great, thank you so much. Sujeet, go ahead.
So Jeff, I have to say, I think times are changing, because as I look back on the folks who have reached out to me to say, I want to get into cybersecurity and whatnot, I was just recollecting as I was talking, all of them have been women, and that's really great. And I'll tell you, one of them, and I still speak with her. I loved the fact that after an event like this, she reached out and she said, I am an aspiring CISO. I said, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, right? So folks like that who are not shy, and who step up and who take the opportunity and who connect with me and whoever, they've all kind of been put into our interview queue, and many of them have, gone further and so on and so forth. So I think I see some change there, because I just thought about it and I said, all of them have been women, and they've been rock stars. I'm thoroughly thrilled that they reached out, and I hope more do.
Well, I get a lot of reach outs, but it's just you're seeing a lot of this, and there was a lot of nodding from other people when I said that. But it is great that this is ability, that we have the ability to inspire change to move things forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Anne, go ahead.
There's perhaps an aspect that's generational as well. So if we look at those that are very early in their career, the universe in front of them is very different, right? And so they can really take the path that suits them the most effectively. So if they go out and seek different opportunities, different experiences to really understand what they'd like to do in a career, and by the way, a career is probably 5 to 6 jobs. It's not one that you keep for a very long time, although you may be with one organization and move around. That really makes a difference. And I think Wanda mentioned it earlier, inspiring some, the younger generation and the younger group, but it is the opportunity to give them many experiences and to really just say to them, they could be anything they want. I think that's your logo, isn't it? Or it's one of the taglines. And so it really is about opening up their minds and saying, hey, just give it a try. Give it a try, see where it goes. There are a few of us that are examples, but there are so many more as well.
Thank you so much. I think we're having such a great discussion, and I'm so sorry to cut in. Jeff and Wanda, Sujeet, I'm sorry it was so short. It absolutely flew by. Honestly, what a brilliant topic. Yeah. Great to have all four of you with us. Thank you so much. I hope you can stick around for the next 2 days and enjoy the summit with us. And of course, pop up on stage if you have any other audience questions that you want to ask any of our other speakers. Thank you again, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
you.